I think I basically used to work with Eureka Forbes for 29 years. And now after retirement, I'm being a coach and mentor to some companies, entrepreneur companies, and also in the Rotary. I'm working specifically on a project called Able to Ability, which is providing employment for the differently able people. That project has started well. So we are trying to train people, get them employment, and help them live with pride and dignity. और कुछ सोशल सर्विस में करता हूँ काम पानी के साथ यूरेका फोर्स में 29 ईयर्स के बाद पानी का काम भी करता है अभी सेफ वाटर फॉर रूरल एरिया स्कूल्स अर्बन स्लम वैसा
हमारे बीच में डॉक्टर रितिका यादव है। डॉक्टर यादव, चाहूँगा एक बार आप पैनलिस्ट के साथ में अपना छोटा सा इंट्रो शेयर करें और व्यूअर्स के साथ भी वो भी जानना चाहेंगे आपके बारे में।
Hi panelists, I'm Ritika and I'm chairperson for Inventor Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are running this organization since 7 years and have empaneled with almost 1.5 lakh persons in all over the globe. And we are also supporting almost 5,000 funding families from nearby slums and providing them the regular work and the ventures to expand.
डॉक्टर श्रद्धा, आप अपने बारे में कुछ बताएं प्लीज। डॉक्टर यादव, आपकी आवाज कम हो गई, हम सुन नहीं पा रहे हैं।
नमस्कार, can you hear me? Just a quick check.
जी, मैं आपको सुन पा रहा हूँ।
Thank you. Hanji, good evening everybody, and my name is Dr. Shraddha Kanwar. I am from iNurture Education Solutions, Bangalore. I've been working in academics and corporate for the last 25 years. And it's a pleasure to be here on this panel and wishing everybody a very happy Engineers Day today.
Thank you.
Venkat, आप please अपने बारे में शेयर करें।
I am Professor Venkat Subbaya, the senior professor from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Andhra University. And I am also present heading the Department of Mechanical Engineering and Chairman Faculty of Engineering of Andhra University. And I am also a council member for AP Academy of Sciences and also the National Council member for Indian Society for Technical Education. And presently I am the Vice President from the Institution of Engineers, India. And wish you happy Engineers Day to one and all. Because the IEA is generally we are doing the Engineers Day throughout our 125 centers we are having. Okay. So we used to conduct Engineers Day in all the centers. Yeah. Thank you one and all.
चौहान साहब ने भी हमारे बीच में ज्वाइन किया। नमस्कार चौहान जी।
नमस्कार, कैन यू हियर मी?
जी जी, हम लोग सुन पा रहे हैं आपको।
चलो
चौहान जी, ऐसा व्यूअर्स जानना चाहेंगे आपके बारे में, अगर आप बताएं प्लीज। व्यूअर्स और पैनलिस्ट दोनों जानना चाह रहे हैं।
So I'm a scientist by training. I started my teaching career at St. Stephen's College at the age of 20. I went and I've done 2 PhDs, one from Delhi University, one from Oxford University. I went to teach in IIT Kanpur and I taught in IIT Kanpur chemistry department. Then I came back to Delhi University as a professor. And in 1988, I joined International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. I became its director for 16 years. I hold an emeritus position at ICGB. Actually, I'm taking this call from my office in ICGB. ICGB stands for International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. I was for a while, I was UGC Commission member. I was its chairman. I'm also currently the chairman of the Executive Council of National Accreditation and Assessment Council. I hope that's enough.
Thank you so much, Ramesh ji. आप सुन पा रहे हैं हमें?
या सुन पा रहा हूँ मैं।
जी।
So I am basically a career banker. I've been a development banker with IDBI and SIDBI, and I'm not an engineer, but still I'm on the panel. But the thing is, I have been working with engineers all through. All my team members were from IITs and regional colleges, engineering colleges. Working in an institution like IDBI and SIDBI, we tend to become more of engineers because we visit hundreds of factories and thousands of technologies we know So we are a generalist. We know what is what, but we can't go deep. But at least we have an overall view of what the technology sectors are in a good bird's eye view. Thank you.
गुलाटी जी आप कुछ शब्द अपने बारे में बताएं प्लीज.
Hello. Pleased to be joining with all the distinguished members here. Like presently, I'm heading the academic and administrative operations of one of the engineering college named Technology Education and Research Integrated Institute, abbreviated as TERI, situated in Kurukshetra. IITs in Bangalore to supplement the educational things for the students, for the welfare of students. Recently, we have been identified as technology sector by Ministry of MSME Government of India. First and the only educational institution to be recognized in the state of Haryana. I have recently been given the charge of representative India, one of the reputed Malaysia-based university with the name Lincoln University College, situated in Kuala Lumpur. I have also joined as strategic advisor to one of the startup called Beat the Virus. They are working into the domain of Ayurvedic things for the immunity boosting process. And my association with TERI is for past 10.5 years. I'm living inside the premises of the institution, surrounded by 1,200 engineers 24/7 because it's a residential campus. I live with my family, so I'm living with the engineers, eating with the engineers, sleeping with the engineers. So I've been living this for quite some time, for more than a decade, and I've been enjoying it pretty well. Thank you.
नमस्ते सहस्त्रबुद्धे जी, कैसे हैं आप?
हाँ नमस्ते नमस्ते.
हमने सहस्त्रबुद्धे जी का 10 मिनट का समय लिया है. इनके बिजी
10 मिनट नहीं, अभी और भी कम कर रहे हैं आज. कोई ना कोई आ रहे हैं, जा रहे हैं.
तो सबसे पहले सहस्त्रबुद्धे जी आप
हाँ जी,
मैं आप ही का सबसे पहले समय ले लेता हूँ. मैं चाहूंगा कुछ शब्द आप इंजीनियरिंग डे के ऊपर में बताएं, बिकॉज आप फिर उसके बाद में जाना चाहेंगे शायद.
धन्यवाद ऋषभ जी. आई एम वेरी ग्लैड एंड हैप्पी कि आपके साथ में आज यहाँ जुड़ने का मौका मिल गया. आज इंजीनियर्स डे है. वी सेलिब्रेट इट इन ऑनर ऑफ सर एम विश्वेश्वरैया, who was Bharat Ratna awardee in 1955. And very interestingly, many things which we normally do in engineering, but he had excelled in all of them. And I think that is what is very most important. We produce about 1 million engineers every year. However, when we look at the quality of engineers that we produce, the quality of work that they do, sometimes we hang our heads in shame. And therefore, in the light of all that, way back in 1881 to 1884, when Sir M. Vishweswaraya graduated from College of Engineering, Pune, where I was lucky to be director for 9 years between 2006 to 2015, the marvelous thing that he achieved, not only as a student, he was a brilliant student, first rank, but more importantly, hands-on, practice-oriented work that he did subsequently. Whether it was the job in PWD, which he managed to do it very, very well all over the country. He moved around, whether it is in terms of construction of roads, buildings, bridges, etc. But subsequently, he was selected as Dewan of Mysore. We had provincial system, provinces were there. Mysore Maharaja appointed him as the Dewan. This Dewan is something equivalent to the minister or whatever you call it in the present day circumstances. And he did a fantastic job of doing several things for the Mysore province. I can list out some of them, which are the first of its kind in India. For example, the Mysore soap factory. Today we talk about in COVID times that we have to wash our hands regularly and the importance of hygiene. And the first soap factory of the country was established in Mysore. Sorry, it is in Bangalore, but called as Mysore Soap Factory. He established the bank, the first bank in this that time called State Bank of Mysore. Today we have State Bank of India and all that, but State Bank of Mysore was established by him. The first Hydel power plant, of course, he was not the only one. There was the previous Devan and he himself designed that, is in Shivasamudram in Karnataka. And that is the first Hydel power plant in the entire Asia, not just in India. Incidentally, the power frequency of that electricity which is produced is not 50 hertz, which we have in all over the country in today's, whether it is a thermal power plant, nuclear power plant, we produce 50 hertz electricity, but that is a 40 hertz plant. And therefore you cannot transmit it to other places. So it has been used only in that particular Shivasamudram village or town itself. We have the first steel plant, which is done in Bhadravati. That was also created by him. He also created what is known as agricultural university. Ours being an agricultural country, there is a need for agricultural university was felt. We are all aware of the beautiful Khadakwasla Dam and the automatic sluice gates. When there is heavy rainfall, we need water to be flushed out at a faster rate so that the dam does not get broken down, and therefore the automatic sluice gates were developed, and he has that patent in his name. So it was patented by him. Then we have a wonderful Krishnaraja K.R. Sagar, Krishna Rajendra Sagar Dam in Mysore. In the beautiful Vrindavan Gardens, we have a view of that, and that is made by the earthen material. So it's a natural earth along with some other materials like हम जो बोलते हैं चूना, गुड़ वगैरह वगैरह उसमें mix करके. But that one, after several decades, has been intact, no cracks, no leakage. I think that is the quality and excellence that he had achieved in everything. They also had not only this, the road construction between difficult terrains like Tirumala to Tirupati way back. He also wrote books, some of them very interesting, Restructuring India, Planned Economy for India. So that means he was not only an engineer, but he was a stressed economic developer, man of steel, a man of metal, and more interestingly, he was having high values, ethics, honesty, integrity embedded in him. One very interesting example about his ingenuity, we are talking about ingenuity and you are talking about inventorship, entrepreneurship of a different nature who are inventive in nature. So I think when he was traveling in train, suddenly he pulled the chain and stopped the train. So everyone was surprised, why is he doing this? And the guard came, and normally they penalize people who do such kind of acts. So he and all foreigners were there in that train. They all cursed him that we are going to be delayed now. Then he said that there is a crack in the, the track little away, and the vibrations which are coming, I am able to sense them. And if we had not stopped it, you would have all gone, through an accident. Who will survive, who will not survive would not be guaranteed. So that is the kind of the using of senses, whether it is ears, eyes, and that is what an inventor or innovator has to do, constantly engaging in this. On the other side, as I said, honesty, integrity of the highest order. In the late evening, when he used to put himself into study room at home and use oil lamp, because that time no electrical bulb and electricity was there in his place, although Shivasamudram came later, and also it was in Shivasamudram, not in his place. So I think what he used to do is in the oil lamp when he was studying, there were a lot of government files, because Dewan of Mysore he used to carry home and then keep working. His work was over. If he had not, he used to ask the servant at home to change the oil lamp, bring a new oil lamp. The servant used to say, wow, what is this? You already have oil in the lamp, lamp is burning. So why is he asking crazily to ask for another lamp? And then he would say to him that I was doing so far government work, so I was using government oil. And now I'm going to read my own some books, etc. So please, isko bujhao aur naya wala lagao. So I think that is the level of honesty. You imagine an oil lamp, how much would have cost? Even today, it doesn't cost much actually. And it was in the era of more than 6-7 decades. You can imagine, so not 7 decades, more than that, 100 years back probably. So the oil would have been very, very cheap actually. Still, he maintained that honesty and integrity, that separation between government and the private. I think these are absolutely great characteristics which are very important. All our innovators who are joining, who are there in the panel now, I think we need to learn a lesson from the life of Sir Visvesvaraya, and rightly he was given Bharat Ratna after independence in 1955. And in his honor, we celebrate Engineers Day. And today, AICTE has first time announced Best Teacher Awards for faculty in technical education. And they are named after Visvesvaraya Award. So Visvesvaraya Best Teacher Award will be awarded today by the Honorable Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishink at 5 o'clock. So it was supposed to be at 11 o'clock, got changed to some other time because the parliament session has already begun. Cabinet meeting is there, and so he was very busy, so we are going to do it in the evening. With this few words, I congratulate you for doing all this great work. I'm sure my friend and senior Virender Chauhan, Guruji, will also speak something on which we all will have to learn. And the new national education policy has come, so how do we really take our nation forward is what we need to think and think together. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
विनोद जी, मैं चाहूंगा कुछ शब्द आप अपने बारे में बताएं पैनलिस्ट को। विनोद जी, आप सुन पा रहे हैं? विनोद जी, आप म्यूट पे हैं, आपको अनम्यूट करना होगा। आप शायद विनोद जी अभी सिस्टम के पास नहीं होंगे, तो आप अगर अलाउ करें ज्यूरी मेंबर्स, पैनलिस्ट, तो हम लोग सेशन को स्टार्ट करते हैं। आप सबका आने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। इस ओकेजन पर आप सबकी अवेलेबिलिटी से हम आने वाले व्यूअर्स को और आने वाले हमारे इनोवेटर्स और बिजनेस लीडर्स को भी एक अच्छा संदेश दे पाएंगे। आप सबकी प्रेजेंस में जो हम लोग इंफॉर्मेशन उन सबके साथ में शेयर करेंगे, वो आने वाले जीवन में उनके लिए लाभदायक होने वाली है, मैं ऐसा समझता हूँ। चौहान सर, सबसे पहले आपके साथ एक चीज मैं जानना चाहूंगा। चौहान सर, आप सुन पा रहे हैं मुझे? जी। तो चौहान सर, मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था कि इंजीनियरिंग जो हमारे जीवन में और हमारे जनरल लाइफ में भी आज एक हिस्सा बन चुकी है, वो किस तरीके से साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी और कम्युनिटी और टेक्नोलॉजी के बीच में एक गैप को दूर कर पा रही है?
तो ये सवाल कहाँ से इसका ओरिजिनेट हो रहा है मुझे मालूम नहीं है। आप ये सवाल को ही मैं पहले समझना चाह रहा हूँ कि ये अज्यूम कर रहे हैं आप टेक्नोलॉजी और साइंस में गैप है, कि आप कह रहे हैं कि टेक्नोलॉजी, साइंस और सोसाइटी में गैप है। आप टेक्नोलॉजी और साइंस की गैप की बात कर रहे हैं?
जी जी।
ओके, तो मैं ऐसा सोचता नहीं कि ऐसा कई बार कहा जाता है भाई इंजीनियर साइंस करता है कि नहीं, या साइंटिस्ट इंजीनियर। मेरे ख्याल से द टाइम इन विच वी लिव, और अगर पिछले 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 साल की हिस्ट्री देखें साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी की, टेक्नोलॉजी डजंट डेवलप ऑन इट्स ओन, देयर इज ऑलवेज साइंस बिहाइंड इट। मैं तो सब इंजीनियर्स को, सीरियस इंजीनियर्स को, अच्छी तरह से जो लोग इंजीनियरिंग कोर्स किए उनको साइंटिस्ट मानता हूँ। तो मेरे ख्याल से तो इंजीनियर और साइंटिस्ट में कोई बहुत बड़ा फर्क नहीं है। आप ये कह सकते हैं, मान लीजिए आप मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर हैं या एरोनॉटिकल इंजीनियर हैं, और आपके मन में सवाल ये है कि भाई फ्लूइड मैकेनिक्स को कैसे देखा जाए, या एरोप्लेन की फ्लूइड एरोडायनामिक्स को कैसा देखा जाए। तो मैं नहीं सोचता इंजीनियर में और साइंस में कोई बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क है। मैंने खुद IIT में पढ़ाया है, एंड साइंस बुद्धे आई एम श्योर विल सपोर्ट मी। आपकी हमारी सब इंजीनियर्स की ट्रेनिंग इज फंडामेंटली बेस्ड ऑन साइंस ट्रेनिंग। नाउ सम ऑफ अस end up asking questions in science which are of fundamental nature. For example, electron on pyridine is on the nitrogen or in the gases. So you can say these are basic sciences, or a structure activity relationship. But कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी साइंस के बिना आगे नहीं जाती, साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी के बिना आगे नहीं जा सकता। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आप मैग्नेटिक रेजोनेंस की थियोरी आपको फिजिक्स से मिल जाएगी आराम से। अगर आपको उसको अगर एप्लीकेशन में कन्वर्ट करना है और स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी को करना है, एनीथिंग, ऑडिटर, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिग्नल, कुछ को भी एम्पलीफाई करना, यू इमीडिएटली नीड इंजीनियरिंग साइंसेस। आई वुड नॉट से यू नीड इंजीनियर्स। एक परसेप्शन है इंजीनियर सिर्फ कंस्ट्रक्शन करता है, सड़क बनाता है या पुल बनाता है, ये वो करता है। आई थिंक those divisions are arbitrary. They are not valid as far as I'm concerned. A good engineer is a good scientist. A good scientist will always have a lot of I can't operate, for example, any machine now if engineers do not design them. So engineering or science में हमारे ख्याल से तो कोई ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं है. So I respect engineers for what they do. But just a half a minute for what my friend said it earlier about Vishweshwaraya. I went to Sambalpur University to give a convocation. तो मुझे वो डैम दिखाने ले गए. So, you know, there's no way you will visualize what people like Vishweshwaraya could have planned in the time which I mean, even today, I can't think of that level. So I went for a dam. You could drive on the dam on Mahanadi for 6 kilometers. But someone soon after independence, or someone soon after independence, where there's hardly any money, there's hardly anything in these countries, for people to think at the scale at which they thought, at the scale at this which you operated, it just, you know, gave me goose pimple in Sambalpur. So my humble request to all engineers or people, please go and see what people like Vishweshwaraya actually ended up. हम तो थोड़ा सा काम कर लेते तो we want to be in the newspaper, हमने ये कर लिया, वो कर लिया, ये पेपर छाप लिया. We should go and see what these people were able to achieve. So I hope I have answered your question. हमारे ख्याल से engineer और science में कोई gap नहीं है. Without engineering, science doesn't prove, and without science, engineering doesn't go forward.
बिल्कुल ठीक है. सुरेश जी, अगला क्वेश्चन मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा. रोल ऑफ इंजीनियर्स इन प्रमोटिंग सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट, इसके ऊपर आप अपने कुछ विचार रखना चाहेंगे?
ये किससे पूछा आपने?
सुरेश जी से.
सुरेश जी का आंसर.
Take forward what Mr. Chavan said. I think engineers are the bridge between science, technology, and society. There's nothing which is segregating. We need a bridge between everything. And engineers are a good bridge between science, technology, and society. Very often, most of us think that the earth is given to us by our fathers, by our forefathers, and we inherited it. But we do not understand that actually this earth which we're living in is borrowed from our children and the future generation, and it does not belong to you. So as everybody said, each one is interested in developing and showing what can be done. In the process, they are not thinking of tomorrows. So sustainability factor comes in terms of thinking of the tomorrows. So engineer's role, like as Chavan also said, engineer is multifaceted. He does many things. It's not just building constructions or buildings and infrastructure. If you look at sustainability, you got to look at engineers playing a key role. Start with in agriculture. How can we make agriculture more efficient, more effective, and how can we make farmers better and more equipped? That's also a role of an engineer. And if you look at the healthcare, today in the COVID time, we find what we lack as a country is healthcare. That's another area where engineers could think differently, because engineers always create, innovate, design, and implement. That's the specialty of an engineer. It's not just a designer, but he designs, creates, innovates, and implements. So they could play a key role in healthcare sector, for example. They could also go around looking at things like water and sanitation. Water is something which is precious, as all of us know. Day by day, the water, which is the most crucial resource, is depleting. There is something called zero discharge. There is no reason why water should get wasted. There are different ways of preserving water, recycling water, reusing water, and also preserving and optimizing the use of water. So this again is a area where an engineer could help, could make sure that all the things which we do as engineers looks at what's there for the future. Can we save the resource? Can we do, like Terry, for example, Mr. Gulati would know that they do a lot of things in terms of conserving energy. Energy conservation is another important thing, because energy is something which is not infinite. Energy also has a limit. So there is something called energy conservation, energy production. And if you look at solid waste management, we talk about tons and tons of waste getting generated, solid waste generated. In Bombay, if you look at it, where I live, you have big, big dump yards full of garbage and solid waste. We could easily sit and convert the solid waste into energy, which we do not. And that's another area where engineers could play a key role. But all this requires the support of the environment, support of the government, support of the people around. So together, if we really look at it, engineers can play a key role in maintaining the sustainability. And most important is that, I don't know, like we're talking a lot about Vishweshwaraya. I'm sure all of you all must have visited the Vishweshwaraya Science Museum in Bangalore. If you look at each exhibit in that science museum, everything is a sustainable development. Everything talks about how it can run smoothly. Everything talks about how it can be reused. So right from those days, people have been talking about sustainability. But I think in the current scenario, we are looking at more of, as somebody said, how much can I get? How much claps can I get? Whether I can get my photo in the newspaper. But in the process, ignoring what we are leaving behind for the society. So the role of engineer, in my opinion, the most important thing is to develop something which is sustainable with an eye for the future.
पैनलिस्ट आप कुछ और जोड़ना चाहेंगे इसमें? सुरेश जी ने जो बोला इसमें कुछ और ऐड करना चाहेंगे आप सभी? डॉक्टर वेंकट, मैं अगला क्वेश्चन आपसे जी प्लीज बताएं।
टेल मी सर।
जी डॉक्टर वेंकट, हम सब जानते हैं कि इंजीनियर्स ने हमारे देश की डेवलपमेंट में बहुत बड़ा योगदान दिया है, तो मैं चाहूंगा कि कुछ शब्द आप तो उस पर बताएं अगर।
Yes, it looks very simple question as the role of engineers in developing India, but the lot goes to answering it. So as already the other panelists, Chauhan Saab and Suresh have mentioned, the scientists and engineers, scientists are the thinkers and the engineers are the doers. So that is what is the technology, what is make it, and which utilizes for the purpose to the society. Then that will be done by the whatever they making into product. That is why they are done by the engineers. So as every second student you meet is an engineering student nowadays. Just now our Sahasrapati sir told. So I am not saying that there are no other streams, but I don't know even in the north, but in the south, everywhere when you say that he is an engineer. So there are no degree colleges are also there now. That is the situation. Of course, now as the quality, we can say it is very difficult, we can say. But now the emphasis is going for the arts and sciences also. But otherwise, why? Because means because engineering gives not only for the promising, and also it is lucrative for the job purpose also. So that's why many of the people are going towards engineering education than other. So actually engineers recognize numerous specialties, and also that each major of branches we are having the civil or electrical, electronics, whatever it may be. So in each division also we are having many specializations as which we require, suppose civil engineers, which is more important for the roads and buildings, which is minimum requirements for the this one, that is food and shelter like this, and also the whatever the dams and all these can be done by the civil engineers, and the aeronautics engineers or the electronics engineers. So those who are working for DRDO and ISRO. So all these mainly doing the engineers. So they are inventing the things, and also during this COVID time also, the doctors are doing for the health aspects, and the engineers are doing or inventing. They say the ventilators at a cheaper rate and with the quality. So all these can be done by the engineers. And also as a sustainable, we can say, so during this, they are making a major role in the economic development of the India is, we have to be undeniable. And also engineers of any field are the architect of emerging the world. So in the current situation, engineers have got a very key role to play in the emergence of India as one of the fastest developing. And they are supposed to have those innovative perspectives and the power of exploring the depth of knowledge also, which is a prerequisite to further accelerate and also the ongoing process development in almost all aspects of social and also political and also economic development. And also the latest talent management and recruit trends in engineering sector have gone through a metamorphic transformation as per the demands of the modern requirements. And as our Prime Minister Modi ji is also emphasizing that every sector to come up with a new innovative ways by using all the available innovative technologies to meet the immediate demand of the India's residents, and also planning for the future growth by leveraging the industrial revolution, fourth revolution, and also the fifth revolution is also going to start. So this, if you observe this pandemic situation, the economy was slowed down, and especially during the lockdown period from March to May, and now it is picked up. And also, in a nutshell, I would like to say that it is an opportunity to enhance the continuous learning and implement every day. So there is no specific day or auspicious day to achieve sustainable development. Every situation or every opportunity or every time or every day or every pandemic situation, etc., are the days which are important to achieve the growth. So be an engineer and create a better future for the world. So, and all the technology changes are going on. So without engineering, there should not be any conflict between scientists or discussed. Scientists and engineers should go together. Without science, there is no engineering. So because they will make the research, and without science, there is no engineering. Mathematics, physics, chemistry. Without this science, direct engineering will not come. So these are the fundamentals is the science. Then after that, the engineers build up. So with the basic knowledge of the science, and they develop, and that will be which useful. The scientists always think in general way, and that practical form which will be helpful to the society to make it in the product level, either in the agriculture field or in the aerospace, wherever it is, that can be done by the engineers. Right.
रमेश जी, आप सुन पा रहे हैं?
हाँ जी।
जी, रमेश जी, आपने पिछले कुछ समय में अपने सिडबी के सफर में देखा होगा कि नई इनोवेशंस आई हैं, डिजिटल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हुई है इंजीनियरिंग सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर पे, तो इसके ऊपर आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
हाँ जी। So before I go, I would also like to add one small note for Vishwesvaraya ji. In fact, when we were children, my mother used to always say, we used to crib about I don't have this, I don't have that, and all those things we are studying. So my parents, used to tell that Vishwesvaraya used to study below a street lamp. He used to go to a government school. You're much better off than that. How? So please don't crib about it. So that's what people in this part of the country, and especially in Karnataka, we used to talk like that. Now coming to this question, if you see, necessity is the mother of all inventions. So wherever there is necessity, people will come. People nowadays, on an average, are living more healthier lives. They are getting better education. They want more. They want better facilities, clean water, electricity, sanitation, and the middle class is growing. So there is a need for rapid technological change, and then this generates huge opportunities for the economy. Most important, there are certain sustainable goals which are there, set up by the United Nations, and all these things can be helped achieved by engineering, innovation. See, engineering and innovation has played a very important role in shaping the frontiers of the future and addressing the existing inequalities in the society. Okay, the current technological and development is exerting profound changes on the people. So there are so many cutting-edge technologies which are coming, and in SIDBI, in IDBI also, we've been running small people. I can give a small example. When I was the bank. So one fellow person came to me and he said, I want to set up a electromedical equipment technique, cutting edge technology. So I was wondering, and then he was wanted to set up in Mysore. He said, I want to set up this in Mysore. It's a cutting edge technology. So frankly, we could not help him because, there was other challenges. But he went ahead on his own as an engineer. He did it. And now he's been spoken of all over the India because he manufactures, these ventilators. It's called, Vishwarath Alva is there. He manufactures world-class ventilators which have been supplied all over the India. So that kind of engineers are doing a lot of things, especially in, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. There are small units in even the small scale sector, advanced robotics, 3D printing. So my submission is that these engineers basically are very innovative and they are responsible for, a lot of innovations at both the national and international level.
डॉक्टर श्रद्धा, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा एक चीज। हम आज के दिन में भी देखते हैं कि इंजीनियरिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स में या फिर इंजीनियर्स को देखें तो फीमेल्स का रेशो मेल्स के कंपैरिजन में कम है आज भी। तो क्या आप समझते हैं कि क्या वजह होनी चाहिए इसकी?
हाँ जी, very relevant question है ये ऋषभ जी। I would like to first talk about some statistics. I'm sure all of us know, but it's important to keep on referring to these because it keeps us alert. Even now we have almost 13% of engineers who are women, and even in the field of computer sciences, which is a field where women are still more prominent, we have only 26% women scientists who are present. So that's definitely something which really bothers us. And if you look at nature, what is natural? Nature doesn't distinguish at all because the insatiable curiosity for exploring more, designing more, creating more, inventing more is very, very common in both the genders. So I was trying to understand a little history behind why engineering and why the presence of women is a little limited. So it's probably around the 11th century, around the time that the first time the word engineer was introduced. And even before that, there is evidence of women contributing to the technology and the scientific advancement, even before the 11th century. We're all familiar with, the Ada Lovelace. We're familiar with the first programmer. The first university to award a bachelor's degree to a female was University of California, Berkeley. And the first woman who got the degree was in 1876. So it's not that it's a very recent development in terms of, how women have entered into this particular, realm of engineering. But unfortunately, we see the trend even now being very, very less. And even in India, people who opt for this particular, first of all, the degree itself and then the profession itself, because there are a lot of dropouts. And if you look at the gross enrollment ratio and the graduation ratio, there's a definite reason for for us to reflect on it. So I find this very, very important as a question to deliberate. I would just like to say there are two primary reasons which I have been trying to analyze and look at. First of all, it's nothing to do with the intrinsic competence as a woman, and there are a lot of scientific indicators which put a woman at par. So it is not the lack of intelligence, but probably the lack of confidence. And that lack of confidence originated because there were always gender stereotypes. So for example, during the World War I, there was a lot of surge in women who were part of engineering profession because there was war shortage and men were at war. In World War II, again, the whole programming, the whole Turing, thing was orchestrated by a lot of women who were programmers. So it was the need of the hour. But gradually it became again a male-focused, male-dominated area, largely because of the stereotype that this is a profession which is more relevant to men. There is also an implicit bias which has been observed in organizations and in terms of instilling the confidence of women and actually suppressing the confidence of women. So for example, there are some recent research indicators which reveal that there is a lot of knowledge that a woman has, but their applicability is something they are less confident about. So then this whole myth of, mathematical intelligence, computational thinking, which seems to be the forte of men because it's more in majority and it's more common, keeps on getting reinforced. So whether it's a gender stereotype which comes from the environment, or it is implicit bias, which again I would like to emphasize is not lack of intelligence, but probably lack of confidence, not lack of capability, but lack of opportunity. And I think the way to go ahead is to provide those opportunities, which I'm sure many of, nowadays, many of these organizations and universities, etc., we're all trying to do that. We're trying to very consciously create an ecosystem where women are able to contribute more value and more meaning. So that's what I wanted to just add here.
एनालिस्ट आप कुछ और ऐड करना चाहेंगे इसमें? आपका ओपिनियन? ओके, डॉक्टर यादव, मैं एक क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा, बिकॉज आप साइकोलॉजिस्ट हैं, तो इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट्स में कुछ साइकोलॉजिकल इश्यूज आप देख पा रहे हैं या उनमें कुछ रहते हैं इस तरीके से अर्ली एज पर?
या ऋषभ जी, बिल्कुल रेलिवेंट क्वेश्चन था ये भी. I have studied a lot over this. In India, the surveys and studies showcase that 1 in 7th person, every 7th person is fighting with one or another psychological disorder or mental illness. And particularly if you go with the engineering students, so there are multiple surveys and studies conducted by the different institutions in India, which referred almost 40 to 45% engineering students are suffering from any mental illness. So particularly, which I profoundly found that there are 3 things which are commonly found in these kind of students. One is the stress, second is the anxiety, and third is the depression. For my opinion, that the stress is just a response to any mental or physical pain, fear, or any kind of burdenization which the student is feeling. And we generally, these kind of issues are like coming into the society, and we are able to see these. From starting from the entrance exam and getting the parental pressure, the community pressure, and non-management of your own fears and stigmas to stand against the multiple pressures and the time foundations to cover the assignments when you got admissions in the college and you're doing the task. So there are many reasons causing the stress and anxiety in the engineering students. And moreover, we have seen that when the students are living away from the families, it is not specifically for the engineering students, for the other students also. When the student is living away from the family, he's looking for an anchor. The anchor can be the teacher. Now the role of anchor is played by the peer group, the institution, the teachers and colleagues and other people other than the family, which delay the competency of your mental efforts to fight with your pains and fears which are coming in the form of assignments and the stigmas which your friends are putting over you and all the things. So for my thing, I just suggest that only the self-management is only the key. And the level of mental issues differ from first semester to the 4th semester itself. So it is a complete journey of a stress management. When the students start preparing for the entrance exam till he's trying to find the job and creating any of the innovation. There is no particular strata to justify the statements, but yes, it is commonly found in those.
विनोद जी, आपका 40 साल का लंबा सफर है इंजीनियरिंग में और कंस्ट्रक्शंस में और MES और हमारे देश के एयरपोर्ट्स को डेवलप करने में. तो जनरली क्या चैलेंजेस आपको फेस करने पड़े इस पूरे दौर?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Vinod Kapoor, working as a class 1 contractor with MES for the last 40 years and also Airport Authority of India. I have constructed many time-bound projects like Mirage 2000 base on Air Force runways for last 40 years. We are a developing country. Beside creating the infrastructure of high standards, the present government is more keen to provide housing to all. So to achieve these objectives, the engineers are a very vital link between the developer and the users. our educational institutions imparting engineering education have also achieved a very high standard, and we can easily compete with foreign institutions with used to be a craze for our young students in the past. अभी ऐसा देखने में आया है, जो चाइना बॉर्डर पे आप देख रहे हैं, इंडियन बॉर्डर्स के ऊपर जो चाइना की हरकत है, उसके लिए जो हमारी डिफेंस इंजीनियरिंग कर रही है वो आप सब लोगों के सामने है. In the government's budget, quite a big chunk of it is for the defense, and especially now when the present government does not want to take any chances with regard to the preparedness in light of the Chinese current misadventures. Our engineers in the defense forces are playing a very crucial role in the direction, as you have all seen that our engineers have done wonders in creating all weather roads and bridges on the borders in a record time. Before I conclude, I must take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of this great event to give me a chance to be a part of the August gathering. Thank you.
Thank you. गुलाटी जी, आप सुन पा रहे हैं? गुलाटी जी, मैं एक चीज जानना चाह रहा था कि हमारे इंडियन इंजीनियर्स आज की डेट में पूरे देश के अलावा पूरे विश्व में जाकर के सर्व करते हैं और बहुत बड़े लेवल पर सक्सेस को भी एक्सपीरियंस कर पा रहे हैं, तो आप इस पर क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
Rishabh ji, I think the Indian technical game has been accepted duly by all the leading countries, developed countries, the personalities and individuals like Satya Nadella ji, like Sundar Pichai ji, Arvind Krishna ji. They are the role models for the students who are pursuing engineering across the country. And they are the genuine role models, because in India, engineering has been the first passion for everyone. And it is a matter of great pride that our graduate engineers have been doing exceptionally well on all the global platforms. If we speak about IT people, the software development people, they dominate the Silicon Valley. They are the well accepted, well reputed community. If we speak about the core engineering specializations of engineering in India, our civil engineers, our electrical engineers, our mechanical engineers, they are very much in demand in Gulf countries, Dubai, Qatar, and all these places. And I was listening to Dr. Sahas Buddhe, perhaps he's not with us now. AICTE, under his able and competent guidance, see the best education for engineering has been provided by the different IITs in the country, and one of the finest initiative of AICTE in past many years is introduction of is the launch of Swayam NAPTEL portal. This Swayam NAPTEL portal provides this unique opportunity to each and every student who is pursuing engineering education, even from the institutions that are situated in the rural part of the country, to acquire knowledge from the best brain, from the best professors. See, we have to be frank and honest to admit that the quality of faculty member in technical educational institutions has been a concern. Not only the quality, but also the availability. So sharing of the best intellectual human resources in the country through initiatives like Swayam NAPTEL kind of a thing, then IIT Delhi came up with the virtual lab concept, then IIT Bombay came up with the spoken tutorial knowledge partner concept. So these are the wonderful developments that has taken place in the country, and they give our students the opportunity to compete with the very best. With this, our people, our kids, our students, the generation who's pursuing engineering, they are getting that exposure, that intelligentsia, that knowledge to compete with the very best. And undoubtedly, India's technical brain has been respected all over the world, and the future will be further brighter. I'd like to take 1 or 2 minutes additional with this announcement of national education policy. It has to take shape yet. It has to come for very good things to happen. Because 6th onwards, the new education policy speaks about inculcation of coding, problem solving, critical thinking, of model wherein we will be giving multiple entry exit programs. We are opening up the educational collaboration in higher education domain for the top 100 global universities. So with all these things taking place, the future of Indian education in the global scenario is extremely bright, and our students are expected to perform even better, and the country altogether should expect more of Satya Nadellas and more of Sundar Pichais and more of Arvind Krishna like personalities. Thank you.
डॉक्टर वेंकट, आप सुन पा रहे हैं हमें? डॉक्टर वेंकट, आप सुन पा रहे हैं? जी, डॉक्टर वेंकट, मैं जानना चाह रहा हूँ कि आप इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इंजीनियर्स को आप रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। तो क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन है उनका इंजीनियर्स की डेवलपमेंट में, या वो किस तरीके से बॉन्डिंग बना पा रहे हैं?
Yes, through Institution of Engineers, we are giving an opportunity for the working people, particularly for those who are having diploma holders. After that, they are entering into their working in different industries or different government organizations. And then they may have, they don't have the opportunity to go for higher education. So we are providing that for all branches. For 10 branches, we are conducting the examinations, and our Institution of Engineers India is the oldest body, and we have started conducting this AMI examinations from 1928, and the Royal Charter was also given to IA in 1935, and the first IIT Kharagpur students degree was also assessed by the Institution of Engineers India at that time, first time. So now this is a good platform for the people who are working, particularly wherever they are working in. We are having most of the people from Army, Navy, and Railways, especially all the government. Many people are joining at the early age after diploma. Then this is and also the cheapest education, because you know what the private universities are charging nowadays. But here we are the entire, suppose if they complete, it is a matter of 15 to 20,000. If they finish at single attempts all the subjects, it's only around 20,000 is the maximum amount they use to spend for the payment of fees and all that. So it is a good platform, and we are doing. And anyhow, that after 2013, there was some problem for with all the sister concerned also. But whereas IA is one institution which are having all the branches. Whereas suppose the IET is there, only they use it to conduct for electronics. That also they have stopped now. So still we are conducting the examinations. Actually, this pandemic situation, every June and first week of Saturday starts, and December first Saturday starts. This time we are conducting, we are postponing, and now from October 10th onwards, we are conducting the examinations for the benefit of the AMI students. And I can say that many of the people who completed AMI, there are many bureaucrats are there, even in the Prime Minister's office are also there, many IAS, IPS people and IRS, and both industries and academicians are there. So most of them, so this is a very good opportunity for those people. And of course, nowadays, the lateral entry and all these were introduced in the private colleges and also some of the government colleges. But earlier that was not the situation. And once you left the diploma means they used to be there and they have to forego even though they are having the caliber to do the exam. So naturally because of the family problems, they won't come back to the education system. And our education system also earlier, of course, now the national education policy has come. But earlier our policy is not like that. Once you left the college means it's very difficult for you again to join and complete the course. So once you join in the job, again coming for the education is a very difficult task in India. So that's why this is a good platform. And even now also there are around 6 lakhs people are there. And our Institution of Engineers is having around 3 lakhs of the corporate members we are having. And now we are importing education and we are having the 125 state and local centers. So that is the advantage that even at each state center and many of the local centers, they can appear the examinations. They need not come to only at 1 or 2 places. So that is the more advantage. And also we are giving the opportunity. Suppose a person is working on J&K. So though whatever may be year earlier, so we are allowing them to write at that particular place where they are doing the job. So that is one opportunities we are giving. So through II we are doing, and also we are having through WFEO, FIASC and FIAP, we are having the sister concerned societies. And also we are giving the chartered engineering, which is helpful for all the engineers, chartered engineering certificate. With that they can do the consultancy and they can earn the money for any engineering graduates. And in addition to that, this is the only body which we are giving the International Professional Engineers. International Professional Engineers examination is the only body which is conducting in India. So that means if they complete that course, International Professional Engineering examination, then they can work anywhere in the globe. So throughout the world, they can go and they can do the consultancies and all that. Thank you, sir.
जी जॉन सर, आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं?
मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि although I agree this is Engineers Day and really we are celebrating and we are showing how important it is to be engineer and engineers solve this world and so on. But somebody said new education policy, one of the problem has been having taught in IIT and so on. There is a flip side of all that we have discussed. And I'm not going to take too much time. Flip side is this, that a lot of, to me, any undergraduate degree after school is a training of mind. Whether you train in physics or history or politics or engineering. So let's not make engineering as something which is out of this world or medical sciences. In fact, new education policy actually addresses, and the previous speaker said something about new education policy, that these monostructures in India, such as national law schools or engineering colleges, is actually something that we have to start looking at very, very seriously. So new education policy actually says that if you're engineering college, you have to start looking at social sciences seriously. If you're only medical college, you make sure you don't just, producing people who can't talk anything about medicine. If you're national law school, you do not just give legal, so broad, liberal arts, or liberal education is, so you could go to MIT, or you could go to Harvard, or you could go to Berkeley as an undergraduate or at Oxford and take courses wherever you like. So I think the future is not to say we can do this council can do this council can do that. In fact, the new education policy is actually saying don't do this. Don't make verticals, after all, engineer has to live in a society or a scientist has to live in a society. You need to understand society. I think the part of engineering education should wake up to this. And the last comment is about the mindless expansion of colleges that Anil said it in the beginning about CESBA. What is the quality of so-called engineers we produce? So I think we pay serious attention to what should be the expansion in this field, which way the expansion should take place, what an engineering graduate look like, And of course, I mean, as I said, it's a training of mind. How a very large number of IIT graduates in 60s, 70s did MBAs and work in the financial world. They neither design anything nor produce anything. They are the ones who run your Wall Street or run your Silicon Valley, but not necessarily manufacturing anything. So I would still say engineering or science or medical or law is a training of mind of that time. And I think all of us should try to look at how to train young students to ask a right question, how to behave, how to, after all, engineering education is also education. So I just want to say, otherwise we run with the narrative of engineering can do this, engineer should do this, engineering should do that. I think we should just merge these things. Engineer is nothing but a good quality, well-trained human mind, which can do whatever he or she is being trained to do so. Thank you.
जॉन सर, मैं आपसे एक और क्वेश्चन जानना चाह रहा था कि जो स्टूडेंट इंजीनियरिंग करने के लिए आते हैं उनको क्या चैलेंजेस फेस करने पड़ते हैं?
आप मुझसे पूछ रहे हैं?
जी जी जी, आप ही से।
कोई ऐसा खास चैलेंज नहीं है. अब if you go to, in fact, the top institution, I would say top 60% institution will continue to get very good quality students. Those students you can, they face no challenge. Sometimes you will say, maybe I don't speak English very well. मेरी सारी क्लासें अंग्रेजी में हो रही हैं. I have most of my PhD students don't speak when they come even rudimentary English. But you know, I have said it before. Indian students or the student quality in India is just absolutely fantastic. They need attention. If the institution behave with them the way they should behave, if the teachers behave with the way they should behave, you will not find students at all at fault. I say with after 50 years of teaching in a college, at a university, at an IIT, at a center, one thing you need not worry about: quality students. If anything fails about student, it is us. It is the teaching community. It is the system of large sums of money are taken, etc., etc. Students out of this world. I've taught in many parts of the world. I don't think they face any challenge. If they come from poor families, yes, financially there's their problem, but intellectually, I can assure you, sometimes if I don't speak English properly, you think I'm stupid. अगर मैं हिंदी में अंग्रेजी नहीं बोल पाता तो मेरा दिमाग उससे कम है जो अंग्रेजी बोल पाता है. वो बिल्कुल ऐसा नहीं है. अगर स्टूडेंट को आपने ढंग से अटेंशन दिया, और मैं तो कह रहा हूँ even all kind of students, you can make, within 5 months you can change their lives. So I don't think they face any challenge.
Thank you so much, sir. जी. पैनलिस्ट कुछ और ऐड करना चाहेंगे आप इसमें?
मैं सर छोटी सी बात, with all due regards to Professor Chauhan, he is having such rich experience. Sir, no doubt we cannot blame the students because they come with a surrender kind of a mind that I am entering into engineering system. He surrenders himself to us, and then it is up to us to what extent we give him the transformation. Whatever flaw exists, majority of it exists with the teaching community. I duly admit, being a part of the educational system. But sir, since you have been at such a stature, let me submit that the regulators who framed the policies, there used to be a time, I've been reading all the expansion of technical education in this country. There used to be time when we were so very fussy on land and building requirements. And today we have, whole of a sudden, we have shifted the complete narrative to the soft skill component, which is equally or probably more important. So up to an extent, when it comes to the expansion of privatization of education, up to an extent, the regulators could not visualize the, let me submit, like I have seen the tenure of, without, I believe, Sahas Buddha sir is not here now, but it is not to praise anyone. The expansion of technical education in the era of Professor Sahas Buddha and Dr. Punya and everyone, and the orthodox kind of a mindset of AICT before him, there is a difference between the two. Now we talk about the skills that are more important. The earlier focus was on the length and the breadth of the room where the student is to be taught. So even if it is 1 centimeter less, we used to have the rejections.
Let me respond. Those
Please,
are,
sir.
that's the history. You are absolutely right. I think personally, if I don't want to use very harsh word on this media, I would have pulled down most of the regulatory authority. But if you look at the new education policy, it addresses this. That
yes, it does.
What you are saying is hopefully going to be history. We can't have 2,000 people and 5,000 acres of land and go with the measuring tape. Agar 2 centimeter kam hai. I think that's history. In fact, as you might see, that even AICT and UGC merger is on the card.
Yes.
So most of the councils which were, this I can say because this is on the net, most of the councils are, if they were coming in the way, architecture council, they all have been now merged into not a single regulatory. I hope I'm right in saying that. A lot of discussion I was involved with. Minimum regulation. If you regulate, you will kill the system. If you over-regulate, the best way to kill a system is to regulate it. But at the same time, given the heterogeneity of the country, both with regard to students, as well as regard to the payment power, as regard to the location, the regulator has to look at that the qualities are not compromised to the extent that it is unacceptable. I think regulators should only worry about the quality is not compromised to the extent that starts hurting the student and parents. Besides that, intellectually, I think autonomy should be given entirely to the institution. And I hope what I'm saying is going to be reality very soon. But I agree with you. Regulators were real pain in every part of the body.
John, if I can add on to what you said, Suresh here, two things. One is, I think today education has become a commercial business. It's no longer teaching. It's just business. The way they charge, the way they take, which I think the regulation has to come. But there should be some basic quality, as you rightly said, basic infrastructure, and the quality of the teaching staff. Even the teaching staff in these commercial colleges are much below par. I'm from Engineering College, Gindi, Chennai. When I used to study, the teachers used to spend time on teaching the elementary basics. And as you rightly said, the basics which gets into your mind is what shapes your mind. And what shapes your mind is what stays in your mind for the rest of your life. And it's not just on professional front, you use it even on your personal front. How you change your family, how you bring up your children, everything is based on that. And in that formative years, if you don't have the right mix, I think we're heading for disaster. Even if the NEP comes in, if NEP does not monitor and regulate the implementation of the policy, it will be a failure for all of us. That is one. And second thing is that, when I went back to my college 40 years later, from the time I passed out, I realized that the lab is exactly the same as I left it. There is not one improvement. The physical, mechanical lab, for example. So I think as a country, as an education institution, we are really not investing into infrastructure. We are not going with the times. We are not really changing with the times.
So this is becoming a larger discussion. So there are numbers. I think everybody is aware of that the money both in health and education spent by our country is much less than many other developing countries. Nobody would argue that. Even my argument is, even if you spend a lot of money, you have to be extremely cautious and careful where you spend the money. All said and done. So if you see some of the new universities which are coming, but you know, there's so many things that you're saying and I'm saying, this is a human tendency. If money can be made, you will always find people in society, they will rush to make the money, whether it is sport, whether it is football, whether it is Formula One, whether it is cricket, wherever you'll find, where the money can be made. In India, by constitution says that the higher education or education has to be no profit. our constitution, unless you change the
fundamentally incorrect. Fundamentally incorrect.
Fundamentally incorrect. So should we change the constitution first of all? Then the parliament will have to come into this. I have personally argued wherever government footprint has increased, today you will see, if you have a child going to do law, you still will send them to the top national law school, either Nalsar or Bangalore or Jodhpur or Raipur. Wherever government has done, I'm not comparing internationally, within wherever government footprints are there, you still have equity, good quality, if not excellent quality. Private sector, fortunately, you begin to see some very good quality shoots, and that's beginning to set example. But these are going to be institutions set up by people who are really worried about higher education in India, not by people who just come in and let's say how quickly I can make money and advertise and so on. But unfortunately, a lot of people will argue that our constitution does not allow it. In fact, all of us are arguing in all various forums that maybe we should consider that some money can be made or money can be plowed. So what you started saying and I've started is a much larger discussion. NEP, of course, will fail if we don't take responsibility of running NEP. All of us, especially the teaching community, we personally have to own up NEP. But government certainly has to put money where I wouldn't say what mouth is, but with 2% or 1.9%, you can't implement NEP. In fact, President of India, fortunately, in his address 2 weeks back, said exactly what you and I are saying. So the large investments will have to be made, and the questions post-investment cannot be asked in 5 years. What have you done? The education or health will take 10, 15, 20 years to pan out. Then you can say, okay, I've given you 2,000 crores. What have you done? You can't ask that question in 2 years. You'll have to wait for a seed to be shown. A little shoot comes out, then the tree comes, then only the fruits will come. So I still think the most important portion of people who will run the NEP will be the teaching community. If teaching community does not come out from its comfort zone, that most of us are in our comfort zone, then I think no matter what you do, no matter what, I still say students are excellent. It is just us in the institution and the sometimes greed of people, sometimes lack of seriousness, sometimes lack of desire. If we can sort those things out, I think NEP structurally is an excellent policy paper. We have to run it ourselves.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
रमेश जी, एक चीज मैं आपसे भी जानना चाहूंगा। हम सब जानते हैं कि हमारे देश की ग्रोथ में इंजीनियर्स का बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है। हमारी इकोनॉमिकल डेवलपमेंट आज हम जिस लेवल पर है वो इंजीनियरिंग और इंजीनियर्स की सपोर्ट के बिना पॉसिबल ही नहीं हो पाती। आप इस पर अपना कुछ ओपिनियन देना चाहेंगे?
See, as all the panelists have been saying, engineers play a major role, certainly, whether it's in economics, whether it's in your life, whether it's in infrastructure. But the most important thing is that how effectively do they really bring out the economics into the development of the country? Engineers are not necessarily only construction people. We always have a feeling engineers means mechanical engineers means construction people. Even a software IT person is actually an engineer. He's not some God sent somebody else. So he's also an engineer. Similarly, a graphic designer, very often the engineers, I'm not saying all of them are, but need not be an engineer to be that, but he does engineering. And again, he sets his mind on it. So India has the capability of producing the best. Like you have read, now that we are constructing a bridge in Jammu and Kashmir, I think by Afghans, which is the world's highest bridge. It's something which nobody else could have even thought of doing, or even we wouldn't have thought of doing 10 years back. But today it's becoming a reality. Maybe next year it's going to get open. In Bombay, if you see the Bandra Worli ceiling, for example, it's a marvel by itself. When you see it lit in the evening, you feel proud to be an Indian. You feel good to go by that area. So that way, Indians certainly have contributed to technology and development. And as one of the panelists said, Indians not only have contributed in India, I think they've contributed more outside India, which I don't know, directly, indirectly might bring in benefits to India, but they have contributed more outside India. Again, the primary reason is if you want to really invest into development and technology, post your college, post engineering, we need to strengthen our research and innovation centers. Today, most of the IITs have started something called research and innovation centers. If you do not give an engineering graduate time to think, if you do not encourage a person to think and develop and do things on their own, they're not going to have interest to just follow the regular routine. If you join a job, your boss typically is 20 years your senior, and his thinking is also 20 years old. And today's generation is not interested in thinking 20-year-old thoughts. From that angle, the technology and development, what you have done today, is through people who are extremely good in engineering, extremely good in implementation. But if you look at the future, I think the technology development and the economy of India can grow only if you give the youngsters, the current generation, the freedom to think, freedom to implement, freedom to work on something which they are passionate about. Because ultimately, you can give your best only when you're passionate about something. If you're doing something for your salary, you'll come at 9 o'clock, go back at 5:30 and spend the time given to you in that period. Whereas if you're passionate about what you're doing, you wouldn't look at going back home. You'll see how long more can I spend what I'm doing. So coming back, yes, engineers have contributed a lot towards technology development, not only in India, but abroad too. But what's more important, like for example, there is something called engineering index, which is like there are countries which are given an engineering index. In that, Sweden, Finland, Denmark are in the top 3. And they are small countries. Whereas India, which is such a huge country, is nowhere in the top even 20-25 list. The reason is simple. The way the index is measured is how much of investments have gone into engineering, how many people are really doing engineering jobs, and how much of wages are paid to the engineers. So coming to the last point again, if you need good engineers to work towards the country's development of technology and development of economics, we need to pay them well, look at them as an asset, and look at them as people who have their own minds who can contribute towards our future.
जी आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहेंगे इसमें?
जी, we have been talking, engineers innovate, and they are known for their creativity. So engineers play an important role in the development of the country as well as improving the quality of life. Okay. Now, as such, so if you see engineers, majority of the services and products have some element of engineering involved with them, right from conception to implementation stage. Earlier also somebody said that scientists are thinkers and engineers are implementers. So they go a long way in making the country and development of the country. You see so many things are there which engineers create, like bridges and dams, aircrafts, millions of things engineers create. And in the last 20 years also, they say we are living in interesting times. So if you see the last 30-40 years, life has become so easy. So many things have come into play. Now, suppose we are in the pandemic without these technological innovations, which definitely has come through the engineering minds, we would be all lost. So I would say engineers add a lot of value to the country and they are valued a lot. Somebody read some time back that the Chinese Development Authority, or the think tank, I don't know what they call, they have the maximum number of engineers in their committee compared to economists. So they feel that engineers add more value to the development of the country, and we know what China's engineering marvel is. So that way, the engineers play a very important role in the advancement of the growth of the country.
डॉक्टर श्रद्धा, आप सुन पा रहे हैं?
हाँ जी बिल्कुल।
श्रद्धा जी, मैं आपसे जानना चाह रहा था कि हमारे देश में फीमेल्स को इंजीनियरिंग में आना चाहिए, इसको कैसे एनकरेज किया जा सकता है लोगों को इसके लिए? आप कुछ इस पर अपने विचार देना चाहेंगे?
जी बिल्कुल। I think one of the things is that any barrier in society, and whether it is a barrier male, female, or we were talking about barriers even in terms of subjects and disciplines which the national education policy is trying to counter. is going to be non-productive. क्योंकि अगर हम देखें अभी there is again a lot of research indicators which say if we are able to introduce women into the engineering profession, if we're able to encourage it, our GDP will definitely be, you know, almost twice as much as it is now, and therefore that will be advantageous to the nation. So not just is it necessary to create a social and a societal balance, but also, you know, from all fronts. Individually, it will be beneficial. Societally, it will be beneficial, and for the nation, it is going to be beneficial. Now, the question is, how do we go about doing it? I think, like I mentioned, there are two specific reasons which are, you know, highlighted, jiski wajah se women are not, you know, entering into the profession. One is a lack of opportunity, and the second is lack of confidence. Opportunity comes from the external environment, and opportunity is because the stereotype has been that, you know, we're always conditioned to think that this is an area where more men are there. So the opportunities have to increase. We have to extend that. And the second is the lack of confidence and not the lack of capability. So there is an intrinsic capability in women. There is an intrinsic competence, intelligence, all those things are established. So we have to gradually modify it. I think there has to be more encouraging platforms provided to women. Some amount of anchoring support also is necessary, because many a times, because of balancing the work and career with the family, and, you know, people have to leave jobs, so some hand holding and some scaffolding is necessary also over there. And I think with the emergence of new technologies, we're talking about disruptions in technologies. I think there's also a disruption in the way the platform is enhancing the involvement of women. For example, more women are tending to get in engineering professions which are, you know, softer professions, like related to maybe environment or genetic engineering or microbial biotechnology, those frontiers, rather than pure play civil engineering or those, you know, harder engineering areas. So with the amalgamation of several opportunities, and I think with the erasing of these silos, these boundaries, that this is meant for this person and this is meant for this person, that will definitely be encouraged. In India, I think one of the good things that has come in the national education policy, which Dr. Gulati mentioned, which Professor Chauhan also emphasizes about, you know, critical thinking, the opening of the mind. So this is going to give an opportunity for women also to transcend across boundaries and represent themselves with much more conviction. We talk about STEM subjects, you know, science, technology, and which being the foundation of engineering disciplines. That also, if it is emphasized, then, you know, it will also give a more scholastic rigor and temperament. So I believe both men, women, for both of them, this is a very good opportunity for women, because we are now stepping into a new era. And I think the information era or Industry 4.0 era would be, you know, seamless without boundaries. So I think that's what should be the approach for everybody. And it's very encouraging, Rishabh.
Dr. Venkat, आप इस पे कुछ बताना चाहेंगे?
Yeah. Actually, sir, this is regarding the women. Now they are entering a lot. When we were students, there are no girl students in engineering, particularly only in the arts college. We are having the university campus. So now there is a lot of change, and I think for Andhra Pradesh government for last 15 years, they are giving 1/3 reservation for the women in all this. So that means naturally now earlier only the engineering, medicine people used to go. Now engineering also, for the last 15 years, so we are having a more increase, particularly the 33.3%. 1/3 of the seats were reserved for women in all the branches of engineering and also in all the educational institutions, those science and wherever it may be. So that is an opportunity I think we have to provide. I don't know about the other states. In AP it is there. In the combined AP also it was there. So it is an added advantage. Now we can say that in computers and electronics, particularly these two branches, women students are more than the boys. And also the practical experience, what we have observed from our campuses, sciences, especially life sciences, the women students are 3/4. What we are observing in the PG, MSc, especially botany, zoology, chemistry, all these women students are more than the even three-fourths, 75% of the people are there. So still definitely in mechanical engineering, also because of 30% reservation. So that so suppose we'll have 100 seats, definitely 30 seats were reserved for women. So 30 seats are joining all the people. So like that, encouragements may be given from the national level. I don't know the exact, that's why I can't comment on that. But if we give that one, naturally women engineers will also come more. Even now, all the people were joining in even mechanical, civil also. But definitely, as I said, software, maybe that the people think that still whatever we can say that it is a male-dominated society or physical by God's this one. So they will opt for soft jobs, like the computers more properly. Those even mechanical engineers are also, they are shifting this to the software industry. And as I mentioned that many nowadays, what I am observing from our students, most of the students are going for management. Why? Because these management people are going, even though the technology, very few people will get the good opportunity, but most of the people are working at the same level. So that's why many of the people now going after education, technical education, going for management, IIMs. Even after 3-4 years service also, they are going and they are getting more opportunity than the regular technology persons. So that is my observation.
डॉक्टर वेंकट, कुछ इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इंजीनियर्स की तरफ से भी कुछ इनिशिएटिव लिए जा रहे हैं इस चीज के लिए?
Yeah, here I think we don't have any particular for women, this one, women empowerment, anything is not there, but we will encourage to provide all this. And even for council also, we are thinking of providing some reservations for the for electing this, because naturally no women were there. So now we are having only 2 council members out of 80 council members. So that is the situation, I think. But education wise, we are not giving any priorities now.
लाठी जी, आप क्या जी सुरेश जी, आप कुछ?
I have a different view. I don't believe in the reservation. Like when Shraddha Kanwar said, opportunities, give equal opportunities. Why would you want a reservation? They're not inferior by any chance to reserve place for them. I'll give you a live example. I'm in the panel for IIM interviews here for the graduates. And last 3 years, I've always found the women candidates performing much better than most of the men. So when I give ratings and ranks, the people from IIM who are sitting next to me, who are the final deciding authorities, they tell me, Suresh, go easy. We have only 20 rooms for women. That cannot be a reason for restricting. I mean, if you've got 250 students, you've got 20 rooms for women, so we can give only 20 seats to the women. I mean, that's not the way it should be. I don't believe in the reservation. Equal opportunity is the word I would like to use. Women should be given equal opportunities and need not be given favoritism. They can easily beat any man and come to the forefront. And today's women, I think, are much more gutsy, and I don't agree they're not confident. They're very confident and they know exactly what they want. It's the only thing, we're not giving them enough playground to play in. We have to open our minds and give them playground to play in, and they will score adequate goals without stopping.
लाठी जी, आप कुछ स्पेशल कदम उठा रहे हैं फीमेल इंजीनियर्स को इनवाइट करने के लिए एडमिशंस के समय में?
But to be very frank, हमारे यहाँ पर when we talk about engineering, there is a fixed annual scholarship of 66,000 rupees for every girl child who steps into engineering at Delhi. And I would love to add here that since 2015, AICT is running one scheme with the name of Pragati, wherein they are giving 5,000 scholarships every year, under which every girl child who steps in to engineering education gets an annual scholarship of 50,000 rupees per year. It continues till the complete duration of the course. And we, being a self-sustaining institution, we are offering a cumulative scholarship of 66,000 rupees altogether for the complete program, giving it a breakup of 15,500 rupees per year. So we have made a policy to promote girl education, and a kind of slight motivation. I do agree with Suresh sir that female do not require any additional push, but at the same time, if any evil exists in our society, if any bad practice exists, prevails in our society, we have to take certain initiatives to, you know, give a kind of a motivation, not for the name of favoritism, but for the name of a genuine promotion, so that their parents feel encouraged. And because the majority of the part, a big population of this country lives in the countryside areas, so there we need to give them a genuine push.
Support.
Not any favoritism, a genuine push.
I agree 100% on support. Support must be given. I believe in it. I agree. Thank you.
I just want to add here, I think I completely agree about meritocracy, because like I said, any barrier, any bias, any discrimination is unfair. What is important is that what is the meaning of education? It is to empower and encourage the meritorious. And they will be the ones who will be the performers. They will be the ones who will be the one who will actually, you know, be more productive, whether it is in education itself or whether it is outside of education in the world of work. So I think it's a very important reason that we understand, therefore, the historicity and therefore today. And yes, there are a lot of changes that are very encouraging, and that is only because, you know, there have been a reason to provide a lot of opportunities and a lot of platforms for everybody who is deserving to excel and provide more. So
let me add here that the females are pretty confident nowadays. Like I'm recently working on a startup idea, and I have been deliberating things with my wife. And when I finally gave it a shape, I was working on the last slide, and I named myself as the founder and her to be the co-founder. She debated, corrected myself. Now in the presentation, she is the founder and I am the co-founder. So females are more confident than the men are.
रमेश जी, आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहेंगे इसमें?
और कुछ नहीं, it's fine.
पैनलिस्ट आप सभी का मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ आने के लिए, अपना टाइम कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए। आप सबने अपनी कमिटमेंट से ज्यादा कुछ समय हम इस सेशन के लिए कंट्रीब्यूट किया। सेशन वाज फैंटास्टिक। आप सबके द्वारा दी गई जानकारी सच में बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट थी और सबके काम आने वाली है। श्रद्धा जी, आपकी जानकारी मुझे लगता है कि अगर लोग अपने जीवन में इम्प्लीमेंट करें तो हम और लोगों को एनकरेज कर सकते हैं एडुकेट करने के लिए और उन्हें जुड़ने के लिए। और वेंकट जी, मैं चाहूंगा कि आप भी अपनी इंस्टीट्यूट के साथ में मिलकर के कुछ और एम्पावरमेंट के लिए या फिर लोगों को सपोर्ट करने के लिए कुछ कदम उठाएं। आई एम श्योर आप कर रहे हैं, बट अगर कुछ में और एड ऑन करेंगे तो इट विल बी अ ग्रेट हेल्प। थैंक यू सो मच आप सभी का। डॉक्टर यादव, सुरेश जी, रमेश जी, गुलाटी जी, विनोद जी, नमस्कार।
Thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you all today.
Same here, sir. Thank you.